Hello, this is Jay Martin, Nebraska Department of Education School Safety and Security Director. When a major incident happens in your school, such as a school shooting, a tornado, or another major event, there needs to be an after-action plan. The purpose of this video and slides is to give some school community guidance on how to recover from a major incident. Prevention, preparedness, response, and recovery. We're going to cover the recovery piece when it comes to a major incident. Throughout this video, I'm going to talk more specifically about a school shooting, but realize a lot of what I talk about throughout this video can also be applied to other major incidents. First off, from a national perspective, national guidance comes from this website. If you scan this website, you'll find out that they have a lot of different tools and resources that you can use on the National Child Traumatic Stress Network. Again, the link that I have included on here will take you straight to after a school shooting incident. But if you look on the far left, you'll see a lot of the other incidents, from bullying to other traumatic events or things that could occur within your school community. Some of the tools you'll find in different languages. Spanish, there's some in Russian, and some other languages. These again are to help aid our school communities. The National Child Traumatic Stress Network also provides guidance for parents when it comes to helping youth. First off, the parents need to take care of themselves. Make sure they hydrate, eat regularly, exercise, and sleep well, which is not always easy to do. Help each other. Take time with other adults, relatives, friends, and members of the area to talk about what happened. Put off any major decisions. Avoid life-altering decisions at this time. Often what we see, especially like after a school shooting, is parents like to pull their children out of that school. And sometimes that's not the best for that child. Now you've just taken away their network, their people that they could talk to about what occurred. Give yourself that break, do what you love, and rest. What are our best practices as a parent? First off, spend time talking to your child. Be open-minded. Pay attention to what their concerns and their feelings are, putting our own feelings and concerns to the side. Help the children feel safe. Discuss what safety looks like and what it should feel like. Make sure you understand, again, where your child is in the safety realm. If a child doesn't feel safe, they won't move forward and they won't be able to learn in an educational setting. All the current psychology says we really need to limit media exposure. The over-transparency of media coverage today is bringing about more fear, despair, rumor mills, and potentially additional violence. That means we really need to watch what our children are doing on social media as well as what they're watching on TV, especially when it comes to news coverage. Be patient, monitor their relationships, address any feelings that they might be having, keep the expectations the same, and seek professional help if that is needed. Other national guidance that's out there and often will be coming to your mailbox, email mailbox that is, Safe and Sound Schools. Michelle Gay, one of the parents from the Sandy Hook shooting, is one of the co-founders of Safe and Sound Schools. They give a lot of great practical guidance after a major incident. So what does Safe and Sound Schools provide? They provide a toolkit. There's 3 different sections to this toolkit. One is supporting children and students. As you can see, there is things like the National Child Traumatic Stress Network, the National Association for School Psychologists, Child Mind Institute, Many of these things I'll be sharing with you as we go through this PowerPoint. Every time there's a high-profile incident of violence, it's common for children and students to seek comfort from caregivers and educators. These resources, this toolkit, will help give you some guidance on how to handle children and students. Another part of Safe and Sound Schools toolkit is supporting recovery. After a critical incident, children need to feel safe and secure, as I mentioned earlier. These resources help guide you in giving that child the support they need in recovering from an event. Realize this is not something that you can just do one time and call it good. It's one of those things that you will have to revisit months, maybe even years after. These give you a lot of resources and tools to use to help a child recover after a major incident. Another piece of this toolkit is, again, planning and preparedness. After a major incident, it is a good time to revisit your school safety plans. Think about the practices that went well and ones that need some work. Going back through your safety plan and making sure that you're prepared for the next incident that may occur at your school is always a good idea after an event. This is all part of that recovery process. So we discussed national resources. As far as local, Nebraska Behavioral Health Plan is an all-hazard disaster response and recovery plan. As you can see, it's divided into the 6 regional behavioral health authorities. This plan in place is to respond to and support psychological and emotional health of individuals and communities impacted by an event. The Nebraska State Disaster Behavioral Health Coordinator is in Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Behavioral Health. The Division of Public Health works directly with Nebraska emergency management agencies to activate state resources if or when local jurisdictions request them through their local emergency management agency. This includes a state-affiliated behavioral health emergency response team that could augment local mental health resources immediately following an event. Nebraska Disaster Behavioral Health Intervention Field Guide. This breaks down different age groups and the resources that can be used to help students and children. The Regional Behavioral Health Authority plans to support schools after a school shooting, including pre-identification and training mental health providers on disaster psychological first aid delivery to support immediate needs, such as distress and grief. Schools or local response agencies can request assistance via the Behavioral Health Authority or local emergency management agency. Immediate response may include mobilization of statewide mobile crisis resource and deployment of psychological first aid trained teams who could help staff reunify sites, spontaneous memorial sites, and other locations where affected community members gather. After an incident, part of the recovery process is that school administrator reinforcing school safety, writing letters to parents and explaining school policy, crisis prevention plans, and mental health efforts being utilized within the school. Being visible in the school with students, parents, and in classrooms as an administrator is also a good practice. Press releases addressing school district efforts on behavior, expectations, interventions, and support services. Again, that transparency with your community. It's also a good time during that recovery process to start looking at your communication systems. Review with school districts internally and externally with those community partners what went well and what needs some work. Review your emergency operations plan and include your first responders. Highlight prevention programs currently being utilized. The National Association of School Psychologists have provided some of these talking points with students. Schools are safe places because we really need to work on continuing to promote. If you see something, say something. We all have a role in promoting school safety. Important to report to an adult directly or indirectly or anonymously. Clues are always left by perpetrators during these incidents. So we always want to provide as many opportunities to try to alter that path. Anonymous reporting is one of those things that really works. Making sure they're connected to some adult, again, directly or indirectly. Discussing the differences between possibility and probability. There's really less than 1% chance of a violent crime occurring at a school. Have discussions around all the number of schools that don't and aren't involved in these events. That's what really needs to be the focus, because there is that possibility, but the probability is actually extremely low. How to reach out for help, and that it's okay when you need assistance. Discuss solutions to violence and violent behaviors. Again, sticking to routines with kids is always best. We all like our schedules. Change causes disruptions in their daily routines. Talking to them about avoiding drugs and alcohol to try to mask the pain that they might be feeling. Have friendship awareness. Make sure the parents are aware of who their friends are, and as school personnel, you should be aware of who's hanging out with who. Their potential access to weapons is also something to keep in mind. This video by the Child Mind Institute talks about addressing students' needs properly. What should be the best practice?
When there's a traumatic event that has affected an entire community, several schools or a particular school, for example, there may be a school shooting, there could be a teacher who just died suddenly, or something bad that has happened in a school setting. I think the teachers and the counselors have a major role to play. The most important thing is actually acknowledge that it happened. And then also acknowledge the fact that children will have feelings. Many times as grown-ups, we don't give permission to our children to feel things. And we'll say, oh, don't worry about it. That doesn't help the child, because the child is going to worry nonetheless. And so acknowledge, reassure, be there for the children. The whole class can get together and they can talk about what happened. One of the things that is ill-advised is to have random counselors coming from outside, well-meaning people who want to do good, but these are people, adults that children don't know. They come in for that one session. The child is not going to be able to really describe what happened, and then there's no follow-through. So we tell our children, don't talk to strangers. So when we have a traumatic event of this nature, it is best that we have the people that the children trust and work with to be able to talk about what happened and validate the feelings that the children are experiencing. And it's tremendous support that children give to each other.
Some more of the best practices during recovery is developing peer and adult groups at schools. This can be done prior to an event, but after an event definitely needs to be occurring. Focus is to provide middle and high school students that opportunity for connections. In homeroom advisement or a seminar class, whatever you might call it at your school, a smaller group of students meet at least twice a week for 20 to 30 minutes. In these meetings, it gives students the opportunity to celebrate birthdays, student activities, events, accomplishments, and other chances for them to share with one another about things going on. If there is an incident, it's a time to have some grief counseling, whether it's a death within a family or any other type of incident where we might need some grief counseling. This smaller, tight-knit group has that opportunity to comfort one another. Creating that comfort zone for students to collaborate, cooperate, and connect their feelings to daily events is really the purpose of these smaller groups. After a major incident like a shooting, federal and state funding opportunities might be available. Federal grants like state emergency response grants via the Division of Behavioral Health and Governor's Office can augment local mental health resources within days of a shooting. Nebraska Crime Commission may also apply for funds via victim assistance to support costs of obtaining counseling. They also might supplement with funeral costs, again through the Crime Commission. Additional federal and state opportunities can include the Division of Public Health that works directly with Nebraska Emergency Management Agency to activate state resources if or when somebody from a local jurisdiction requests them. Regional Behavioral Health Authority plans support schools by training mental health providers on disaster psychological first aid. These immediate responses may include mobilization of statewide mobile crisis resource and deployment of psychological first aid trained teams to the event or the area. So here's an example how federal funds were used after a real incident. On May 7, 2019, the STEM school shooting in Colorado occurred. 8 students were shot. 1 unfortunately passed away. After the event, part of the recovery process is when community partners with nonprofits, behavioral health, victim assistance, victims of crimes, and etc. work towards healing. The grant opportunity that they used, these federal funds, were from the Anti-Terrorism and Emergency Assistance Program. What they did with that is they created a physical space, basically a rec center, to aid in resiliency of services, counseling, education, and resources, again, to support the STEM school community. So with those grant opportunities, you're going to see in this video how this helped the community in STEM to connect, learn, do, and heal.
The mission at STEM Center for Strength is to promote recovery and resilience for those who are directly or indirectly impacted by the school shooting at STEM School Highlands Ranch on May 7th, 2019. Whether you are a current or former family of STEM School Highlands Ranch, an extended family member, a current and former staff member, administration, we exist for you.
Being together as a community is a really helpful way that individuals can heal from difficult things. Embrace the parts of their personality that they don't always. And so just providing that space.
It's an aid to the community in a way that the school itself can't really be. You can get connections to therapy or connections to everybody around you. It's here to help the community recover and grow stronger.
Community building, fun activities for kids, ways to kind of be together in space.
It is a chance to connect, learn, do, and heal. By connect, we mean be together, whether it's through playing a game of ping pong or a movie night, something that just allows a free, safe space to be together. Learning is through some of the psychoeducation presentations we have. We'll have guest speakers talk on trauma-informed care. Do is hiking outside. We also provide trauma-informed yoga. What does healing look like? A chance to speak with one of our behavioral health specialists who have a variety of different disciplines. Our hope is that this safe and inviting space will give an opportunity to come and just be together.
Additional resources we have in the state of Nebraska, of course, Nebraska Department of Education, School Safety and Security website. Our QR code is right up in the right-hand corner. Safe to Help Nebraska, our anonymous tip line. 988, the crisis and suicide line. You can call, text, or chat at either one of those two. We also have Nebraska Family Helpline. The NIAC also provides services. And I also need to thank Nebraska Public Policy Center and Dr. Bowling for providing some of the material within this video. Here again are some of the resource links for the National Child Traumatic Stress Network, Nebraska Disaster Behavioral Health. Also, again, as I mentioned throughout the video, there's several national professional organizations in psychology, as well as federal sites for victim assistance and disaster relief. Part of preparing for a major incident is preparing for the recovery and what that will look like. I hope you found some of this information informative. Take care and be safe.